The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once more to the West Ham Massive. Thanks for joining us. Please don't forget to like, comment on and share the stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon and click all for alerts on new content. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. Little bit of due diligence that I always try and sort of get out of the way, just in case there's anybody watching that gets offended by any choice words, any blue language, anything that's a little bit robust in its tone. Like this stream by all means, subscribe to the channel, you'd be very welcome, but please be warned, this might not go down too well with you, so you might want to disappear off. If you're going to carry on watching beyond this point and you hear a swear word, it's on you, it's not on me. So we are here to discuss the aftermath of Premier League Matchday 15 of 38, where our mighty West Ham United went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and took a great big shit in their centre circle. Tottenham Hotspur 1, West Ham United 2. 6 games, 5 wins, 1 draw. Tottenham, 6 games, 4 defeats, 1 draw, 1 win. I mean, a month ago, you'd have gone, no chance. You'd have looked at this fixture and you'd have probably looked and gone, we're in trouble. But what a turnaround. What a difference a month makes. It's quite incredible. Keep your eyes out for the ticker at the bottom. It will intermittently change with little bits of information like that. Let me just have a little look in the comments section and see who has joined us. We've got Mr. Singleton. Hope you're well. Mark as well. Hope you're all good. Yeah, I know I'm going a little bit earlier. I just want to get the evening out the way, to be perfectly honest with you, and just sort of chill out a little bit. Had the day off of work, but the strange thing was I was actually doing work, but I just had my phone off and didn't get involved in answering phone calls, but I was doing all sorts of bits and pieces around my job. I know I probably shouldn't. I should have left it alone, but, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Yes, it was a great win, Mark. Absolutely. So, right, first things first. As you can see, I'm on my own. So, thoughts on both of the starting 11s. I'll do the usual format. So, my thoughts on the starting 11 for West Ham. Well, the obvious omission was between the sticks. Lucas Fabianski, he came in for his first Premier League start. Areola, from what I heard, and I don't know if this has been sort of corrected or confirmed or any prognosis given on, is it going to be longer than just this match or not? Who knows? But Fabianski came in for Areola, who had a wrist injury. Stop laughing at the back. I know what you're thinking. I'm sure it was just a routine training ground injury. I'm sure it wasn't sort of like he didn't injure himself having a cheeky little wank in the bogs afterwards. These things happen. But, you know, other than that, to be honest, the team, the composition of the team, as far as we was concerned, was probably largely what I was expecting. Now, it had Bowen on the team sheet. He was apparently deployed as the central striker on Amazon Prime. On this graphic, however, they have it as a 4-3-3. I think this was probably more accurate because it did seem to me at the outset that Kudus was playing through the middle, Bowen was playing wide. But those two probably switched over quite a bit. Paquetá on the left. It did seem to me to be more a 4-3-3, certainly in the first half, I have to say. Tottenham lined up probably again, much as I expected. The danger man was their striker, as we discussed in the preview, Heung-min Son. Fantastic player. Whatever you want to sort of say about, any jokes about sort of whatever. He's a marvelous player. You can have a go at him for his club allegiances and obviously all of the rest of it. But a marvelous player. And I said it in the preview. I think he gets into any team in the Premier League, including Manchester City. He was up top. And so it was probably what I expected for the teams that took to the pitch. Both pretty much the same. We started the first half, and within 40 seconds or thereabouts, Fabianski was called into action. He came out, he made a block save. Son put his arms out, gesticulating for a penalty. It never was a penalty. And even if it was, the player Kulusevski was actually very fractionally offside. So even if it had gone to VAR for a check, that wouldn't have been a penalty. It would have been overturned because the player was offside marginally. But these are offside these days with the technology. So you move on. But Tottenham were looking good. I got to say, I really did. Taking my West Ham allegiances to one side, if I was just watching that purely as a contest and watching the football that they were playing some really good stuff. It has to be said. 11th minute, we concede the goal. It was a corner from our left-hand side. Their right was played in. Christian Romero, who's come back from a 3-game ban, I think it was. He had a suspension anyway. However many games it was, doesn't really matter. He's come in, he gets his head to the ball. It's sort of like that, and it was a bit of a loopy header. It wasn't like a powerful header or anything like that, but it sort of it seemed to travel. It sort of looped up. First of all, I did sort of look and sort of look at Fabianski and go, could he have done better with that? But I watch it again, and it's like, look, probably there wasn't an awful lot else that he could do. How you doing, Happy? Hope you're well. It was one of them. I mean, sort of like, I'd say, looked disappointing, but I think on reflection, probably it was a decent enough header, and we go 1-0 down. And to be honest with you, for the rest of the first half, with one exception, which I will come on to in a minute, it was pretty much one-way traffic. And I was fearing the worst. I was seriously thinking that we're going to crack again. We're going to concede a second. And if we concede a second, obviously we know that the self-fulfilling prophecy that is West Ham this season is that we generally tend to concede after half time. 3-0, that would be the game over pretty much. And so I was really just keeping my fingers crossed. Look, if we've got to go into the changing rooms half time with a 1-0 deficit, then so be it. We had one opportunity. It was a ball from Kudus. Kudus was on our right hand side, and he gets the ball and he swings the ball over to an unmarked Paquetá. He was in acres of space. He gets a header to it. Really should have done better. Should have hit the target, and it went wide. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that could have been the equaliser. How you doing, James? Hope you're well. That could have been an equaliser. That could have been a momentum shifter, but it wasn't. Fabianski also, has to be said, made a tremendous save as well. It was a shot. You could turn around and say it was fairly close to him and a decent height, but still, the ball was travelling at a fair old rate, and he gets his hands up and pushes it away, makes the save. And we go in at 1-1. And like I say, even at that point, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, as I say, we know that we usually have this ability this season that shortly after the interval, probably about a 10-15 minute spell after that, the opposition will find a way to score. And as I say, at 2-0, I think that's an awfully long way back. It really is. But do you know what? We started the second half with a little bit more intensity. I think that one of the things that I've criticised the team for in recent weeks is our lack of intensity in the press. It seems that it's a little bit lackadaisical, a little bit sort of, yeah, just not enough energy about it, not enough intensity. Get out there, really put the pressure on them. It's not quite like that. You're sort of like they're just ambling out a lot of the time. But the second half, it was very, very noticeable that there was a little bit more fire in the belly. There was a lot more coming out. The guy that's got the ball, bang, let's get out to him. Let's press him. Let's get really sort of up in his grill and make him make the mistake. And we was looking decent. I gotta say, we was looking a lot better in that second half. And then we come to the goal. Well, it was a bit fortuitous, but I'm a big believer in life. You make your own luck. And Kudus had the ball. He's just outside the 18-yard box. He lets fly with a left foot shot. Did it have that much pace on it? Would it have troubled the goalkeeper, Vicario? Probably not. But it took a deflection off of Christian Romero. It then hit the back of Ben Davies. And then it's sort of like it's now moving towards goal. So it's sort of like it's going towards goal from the shot. Hits Romero, comes away, hits Davies, moves towards goal. And moving on to it, anticipating the flight of the ball, was Jared Bowen. Onside all day long. No question about it. Onside. Took a very slight touch, it seemed to me, I believe, to sort of like move it slightly to his right. Vicario's trying to sort of like scramble across to sort of get the save. But once Jared Bowen sort of like blasts it high, he's not getting that. He just isn't. And he's a good goalkeeper, but he ain't getting that. Jared Bowen is in some monumental form right now. He really is. The old saying, Jared Bowen, he's on fire, isn't he? And he's doing something with Danny Dyer by all accounts. Equaliser 1-1, and I thought to myself, "Oh, hang on, this is on here." Now I have to say, I'm just going to sort of like slightly back the track up a little bit. Now, some of you that watch this might know that I am one of the Hammers Chat Patreons, and the Hammers Chat Patreons have a WhatsApp group, and I occasionally get involved and sort of like voice notes, and people that are on there would tell you I'm quite a regular exponent of the voice notes and certain language, but there you go. That's me, like I say, and that's why I do the warning at the beginning, because I'm me. I swear, I say words like fuck, shit, bollocks, and I don't mean to offend people, but there it is. And Gio, bless him, he turned around at half time at 1-0 down, I swear to God, and he turned around and he said, "We are coming back and we're winning this 2-1." And my retort to him, and I'm going to be completely honest, and I apologize to Gio. He called it absolutely spot on. And I turned around, and my retort was, "Have you been sniffing the Bostik again or something?" And we're there at 1-1, and you're like, wow, this is on. This is seriously on. But having said that, Tottenham was still sort of like there or thereabouts. They were still sort of causing, little problems, but they just didn't seem to have quite the cutting edge that they'd had in the first half. I think that equaliser really did knock their confidence, I got to be honest. And then we come to the goal that proved decisive. So I don't know what. I mean, my wife, as you guys will probably know, is a Spurs fan, and she was sitting next to me on the couch. Now, at this point, obviously, she was sitting there in the first half with a little bit of a smirk on her face, sideways glance in my direction, and she's sort of like, "Oh, never mind, whatever." At 1-1, she went very, very quiet, and I could sense her body language that she wasn't very happy. So we go to the sort of like the build up for the equaliser. Udogie, the fullback, played I believe it was a back pass. I mean, it must have been. There was no one else it could have been to other than the goalkeeper. And he's clearly not looked. He's done what Mavropanos did the other week. Who was it against? I can't bloody even remember. It wasn't Palace. It was the was it Palace? Anyway, So he plays a back pass, doesn't even realise that Bowen's there. He charges through, and as Bowen's going towards the ball, Vicario comes out. Now, I got to be honest, I think goalkeepers these days have this aversion to actually sort of catching the fucking ball, getting their hands on it. It's always sort of like push it away, punch it, all that bullshit. Fucking get your hands on it and, reset and go again. But instead, and look, I'm not complaining. I'm a West Ham fan, so I don't give a fuck. But he pushes it away, and it goes to James Ward-Prowse, gets the shot away, and I'm thinking this is in. Oh no, it hits the post, and you're like, oh my goodness. But it came back to him. Now, of course, the fly in the ointment was Jared Bowen still lurking around the 6-yard box. Now, of course, he's in an offside position at this point, but he's not actually committing an offside offence because of the way that the play's unfolded at this point. But I was just sort of like sitting there thinking, oh, please, just get out the fucking way, Jared. Because, of course, if James Ward-Prowse had hit that second shot, or even the initial one, and it touches Jared Bowen on the way, well, now he's active. Now he's on side, and any goal would then get disallowed. But he managed to get himself out of the way as James Ward-Prowse gets the rebound, puts it in, and it's 2-1. Shortly before this, though, I probably should also mention I've kind of sort of like skipped, so I might have to just sort of like back the truck up. Back at 1-1, it should also be remembered that at 1-1, Tottenham had a chance to go back 2-1 in front. But Richarlison, who isn't in the best of form right now, gets his head to the ball and it just goes wide of the upright. And I think that was a critical moment for West Ham. But I think we earned it. I really do. I think we earned that 2-1 win. And we were defensively very, very solid. As I say, we had more energy about us in that second half. We was closing our opposite numbers down. We was doing all of the things that I think I've accused us of not doing in recent weeks. In that 45 yesterday, we brought it all to the fore. Now, whether it was because it was Tottenham or whether it was just that, it all came right on the night, I don't know. Did David Moyes, was it his team talk at halftime? I don't know. But what I do know is that we won the game, and it's absolutely sensational. Like I say, we're on a run of 6 games now. Whatever you think about David Moyes, whether you're Moyes in, Moyes out, and we've all had our opinions on it. We've all been fairly vociferous when we had that losing streak. We've won 5 out of 6 in all competitions, and that includes wins against Arsenal and Tottenham. It's a sensational run, and Jared Bowen is in superb form. Kudus is in superb form. There was a little bit of a dip in the form of JWP, but he's come good again. Emerson's having a fantastic season. He's arguably been our hammer of the year thus far. If it was to be taken now, I think it's between him and Bowen, in all likelihood. Really good. Really good. Do you know the one thing I will say this, and this is just me thinking out loud, is Fabianski. The performance, I think, with Fabianski, and I'm not saying he was he was making saves left, right, and centre, but he was doing what he needed to do. And given that he's not really been involved that much, and certainly he's not been involved at all in the Premier League, I thought he had a very creditable performance. Now, here's a question for you guys. If Areola is fit for the game on Sunday away to Fulham, does he start, in your opinion? Would you start Fabianski or would you start Areola? Bearing in mind the performance that he's just put in. Do you know what it reminded me of? Do you remember a couple of years ago when we signed Joe Hart on loan from Manchester City? And Adrian was at the club at this point, and Joe Hart was put into the number 1 spot. But then we played against Manchester City away, I think it was. It might have been at home, but I think it was away, I'm pretty sure. And Adrian obviously had to play because Joe Hart's a Manchester City player. He can't play against his parent club. And Adrian came in and he had an absolutely sensational game against a marvellous team in Manchester City, under Pep Guardiola. And Joe Hart never got back in. Now, I'm not saying that Areola wouldn't get back in ever ahead of Fabianski. But if a guy comes in because the other guy's injured and he performs well and the team wins, do you change him? I mean, I'm not a fan of changing goalkeepers willy-nilly. So have we actually got a designated number one, number two? I mean, it's not like, I don't know, Manchester United, for example. I mean, they have a designated number one, which is obviously Onana. Now, whether you think he's good enough is another matter, but he is the designated number one. And then you've got a number two goalkeeper who is essentially a backup. I'm not quite sure we've got that dynamic. I think we've got two guys that potentially could be number ones. And I think Fabianski has come in, and I don't think he did anything wrong yesterday, to be fair. Like I say, I was a little bit sort of like at first looking at the goal and going, but actually on reflection, not too sure. Not too sure he could have done anything different. So does he come straight back into the starting lineup, Areola? Or is he going to have to wait? Has Fabianski maybe done enough for Moyes to turn around and say, I can't drop him. I can't justify it. So Areola's now going to have to sort of wait his turn. Happy comes in, says Areola could be back for Freiburg. Big shift in keepers incoming, perhaps. There you go. Fabianski or Areola, don't mind either. But if you were David Moyes ahead of the Fulham game and Areola is fit, who do you pick, Eric? Who's your guy? I mean, you've got to make a choice. You don't mind either, but if you're the manager, ultimately you have to make a decision. You have to make the call. And as I say, I mean, Rob says it right there. We are gifted with two great goalkeepers. Either one of them could legitimately be, and Happy agrees, legitimately be our number one. And Areola hasn't actually put a foot wrong himself, but he's just sort of like he's dropped out of the team with an injury at that moment. And Fabianski's come in. He's not done anything wrong. So really, can you justify sort of saying to him, well, yeah, you've done well there, mate, but actually, sorry, you're back on the bench. I don't know. David Moyes has got to make that call. Anyway, I just thought I'd get into that. Star players for both men. Well, for West Ham, I think I mean, look, all 11 starters and the subs that were introduced as and when really sort of came in and played their part. And I think you could make a case for a number of players. I'm going to put my head on the chopping block, and I am going to say that, in my opinion, the man of the match was Jarrod Bowen. I think it's a close run thing. I think you could make a case for James Ward-Prowse. I think you could make a case for, excuse me, for Mohamed Kudus. I think there's a couple of people that could come into contention. Emerson played excellently, but I think for me, I think that the timing of the goal, the finish, just his all round play, I think I've got to give it to Jarrod Bowen. As for Tottenham, who gives a fuck? Quite frankly, I couldn't care less who played well for Tottenham. Fuck them. They lost, so bollocks. Was it the final score a fair reflection on how the match panned out? It's Tottenham. So again, I don't really give a fuck if we only had 2 shots on target in the entire 90 minutes. We beat them at home. We took a great big shit on their pitch. So was it a fair reflection? Do you know what? I think it was. I think from us, like I say, we was very disappointing in the first half. And on another day, we could have been 3-0 down at halftime, there or thereabouts. Charlie, who obviously joined me for the preview, he was there yesterday and he was very unhappy with the showing in the first 45. 45 minutes later, he is much, much happier with life. So, yeah, I think that as far as the performance is concerned, I think, is it a fair reflection? Look, on another day, though, that game could have unfolded and it could have been 2-1 to them. It could have been 2-2. It could have been 1-1. It was one of I mean, look, it wasn't a game where we smashed them off the park. I think that they had 45 minutes where they could look and say we were the better team. And I think we could have got 45 minutes where we can look and say we were the better team. So a 2-1 advantage is probably not out of line. And yeah, I mean, look, there's got to be some Tottenham fans that will be saying that we deserved the win and they didn't. So, but we take the 3 points, we move on. And just to sort of, in case anybody wants to have a little butchers, if anybody's not quite sure, well, that's where we are in the Premier League table. We haven't actually moved up or down. We're still in 9th. But you look there, we're on 24 points right now. I did a little bit of thinking of, well, what's the best case scenario? Well, if we win, we then go to 27 points. We beat Fulham. We're on 27 points. Now, just bear with me with this one, guys. So, Manchester United are playing Bournemouth. Newcastle are playing Tottenham. And Brighton and Hove Albion are playing Burnley, right? Well, if Burnley beat Brighton, not inconceivable, unlikely, but not inconceivable. If Manchester United get beat by Bournemouth, not inconceivable. The fly in the ointment's obviously going to be that Tottenham and Newcastle face each other. So, do we want Newcastle to drop points? Do we want Tottenham to drop points? Do we want them both to drop points? Probably we want a draw there. So, if that's a draw, Tottenham would go to 28 points. But the best case scenario for us is if we win, Newcastle, Tottenham draw, and Manchester United and Brighton lose, then we will go to 6th, providing that all unfolds that way. We would go to 6th because obviously we would then have 27 points. Tottenham would have 28. Newcastle would have, well, actually, no, Newcastle would, yeah, I haven't done the maths there very well there. I've just done it on the fly. So Newcastle go, so yeah, okay. So best case scenario is we can go 7th with the next game. Best case scenario. I think that's right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. Best case scenario, because their goal difference is plus 15. Our goal difference is plus 1. So we're not going to overturn that sort of goal difference in one game unless we, I don't know, unless we play Fulham's sort of like, under 8s team or something like that. But look, we're moving in the right direction, guys. We are moving in the right direction. Yeah, that was good. That was funny, that when he looked up and he had that little fucking little smiley face, that little bit of cheekiness about him. To be honest, I was really frustrated with him in the first half, not just for that header, but just for some of the sort of like the usual sort of stuff that we've accused him of late. But listen, he was part of a team that went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We went 1-0 down and got in at halftime, showed a great deal of character, a great deal of resilience to turn the situation round. And we've come away with all 3 points, and it's good. We, like I say, six matches just in the pipeline that we've just had, and we've won 5 of them, drawn 1 in all competitions. One of those games was against Arsenal, and one of those games was against Tottenham. So we've done the 2 North London clubs all right. The Arsenal game was in the League Cup. It wasn't a Premier League game. You could argue it wasn't their first 11, but it wasn't Astra's first 11 either. So, they cancel each other out. But yeah, I mean, and as for the last question that I usually sort of ask, how do I think the result will impact on our next match? Well, David Moyes, will he rest and rotate? Probably not. I think that, again, I think probably the only one that might be vulnerable is Areola. Yeah, is it going to be Areola? Is it going to be Fabianski between the sticks? I think in all likelihood, unless there is any niggles or anything like that, I think it will probably be largely the same 11. And that will be 11 that is brimming with confidence. The momentum's in our favour. Although Fulham beat Nottingham Forest 5-0 the other night. So they've got a little bit of momentum behind them as well. So it'll be an interesting game. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be there last season, earlier this year. Went to Craven Cottage, first time I'd ever been there. Lovely old school ground. And I'm going there with my daughter. And hopefully I'm going to get a couple of other friends coming with us because I've got a couple of spare tickets. just in case anybody sort of is out there going, oh, what about me? They're tickets for, you'd need to be under 21 years of age. So unless you are, you're probably not coming with me. But good old school ground, and it'd be an interesting contest. It'll be an interesting contest. I mean, we got battered there last season in the game at Craven Cottage, but we won it 1-0. So, you know, and obviously this was at the time when we was having a little bit of a dabble with, you know, are we going to go down and whatever? And we went there and we got a very good 3 points. And we go there in a much better situation this time around. And hopefully, we can get the 3 points that will see us moving up the table. The other interesting stat I will just get out there for your consumption, unless you probably already know it, and you probably do. We're on 24 points after 15 games. That is our best total after 15 games in Premier League history for West Ham United. So couple of weeks ago, we was all sitting here, myself included, saying, I think David Moyes' time is done. And look, who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe that decision's already been taken behind the scenes. We don't know. But right now, we're in good form. We're moving up the table. Yeah, okay. Generally, a lot of the time in that sequence of matches, has our form been the best? Has it been pleasing on the eye? I'm not going to lie, it hasn't been at all times. But is it style over substance? Look, everybody's different on that. We'll agree to disagree on certain occasions, but I think what we can agree on is that yesterday's result was absolutely magnificent and will be spoken about for a little while to come. But what's this? 2015 season, I heard. So I haven't looked yet. I thought it was the in Premier League history, but I could be wrong. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. Please don't forget to like, comment on, and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. Don't forget to click all. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this particular endeavour. I am going to disappear. I'm going to crack on with my weekend. We've obviously got to do the Fulham preview, which will probably be, well, it'll have to be tomorrow, because on the Sunday we're going to be making the journey to Fulham, so it'll have to be. But guys, thank you very much for joining us. Come on, you Irons. Stay safe, and please don't forget to give your support to the Iron Supporting Food Banks charity.
The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.